The system is broken. Inflation is robbing your wealth. Banks control your money. But what if there was a way out? Bitcoin isn't just an asset, it's a revolution, a decentralized, unstoppable financial system built for the people, by the people. This is the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, your front row seat to the future of money. No hype, no noise, just real Bitcoin insights from the industry's top voices. Bitcoin isn't the future, it's happening now. And if you're not paying attention, you're already behind. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Be part of the Bitcoin revolution. Subscribe now to the Daily Bitcoin Podcast. To my fellow listeners. Hello, fellow Bitcoiners. Thank you so much for attending our show today. I apologize. I've just been swamped at night, so I've missed like 5 shows. Chris has been bugging me on the back end because he loves, he's our videographer or video, what do you call it? Video editor. And he loves making Bitcoin content now. I think Chris has been our video editor, I think, is slowly being converted to a Bitcoiner. So shout
Orange
out.
pill everyone.
That's right. And then his job is going to be to go convert all of his people. All right. So I have Morgan Stuart with me, fellow. I think we're officially been christened hosts of the Bitcoin meetup because our fearless leader is struggling right now. So
Prayers for Mark.
Shout out to Mr. Mark. Hang in there, buddy. We got it covered, though. We're going to take the torch, steer the ship, hopefully not into the rocks while you're gone.
Only up and to the right.
That's right. That's right. We're going to be a smooth sailing as Bitcoin.
Great to be back on the show, Craig. I really appreciate you having me again.
Yeah. All right. So we got so much news to cover today. We don't know where to start, but I think we're just going to start with this Fed drop news. I'll let you let's see. Is that?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I think there's a way that I can zoom in on. Oh, wait, I know what to do. Here we go. How's that?
There we go. So the Federal Reserve announced today that they're going to change their guidance for banks. So pretty much the choke point 2.0 stance towards Bitcoin by major banking institutions is no longer in play. The Federal Reserve is now opening up banking to be crypto friendly and specifically Bitcoin friendly. The most important part. Becoming Bitcoin friendly is what you need in an economy where you see traditional finance institutions taking on Bitcoin and understanding and respecting it as an asset class that people want to hold. They want to have their banks custody it. And so this will allow so much more institutional adoption, large business adoption, because people can just call up their banks and say, I need a custody of my Bitcoin. Just take care of it. Just handle it. And that does so much to ease people's minds, because people that want to have Bitcoin exposure that otherwise don't have it right now, that understand that if they want to be a part of the future, that they need to have Bitcoin on their balance sheet, they need to have a way to straight up call their bank and say, get me Bitcoin, get it self-custody. And so this should be something that every major bank should be competing on as a service for their customers.
Yep. And we already have Coinbase and Jack Mallers that I know of with his company, Strike, though he's not offering it yet in Louisiana. So sad. They will actually real time give you loan backed by Bitcoin. So you can get a loan today, real time for this. I'm actually playing with it a little bit.
Yeah, Craig, tell me more about your experience with that. Have you liked it so far?
Well, I'm getting ready to get crucified by all of my fellow Bitcoiners, but I'm in Louisiana, so I can't do it through Strike. So I wanted to play with it, and so I have to do it through Coinbase. So unfortunately, I'm doing business with the casino just for me to till I can figure if River's going to do it or Strike's going to do it. But like you said, eventually regular old brick and mortar banks should be adopting this. And so instead of you showing up to get a loan, say a cash loan, business loan, hard times loan, whatever, and you putting up, say, some land or real estate as collateral, they're now basically accepting Bitcoin. And I think this is great for Bitcoin because I don't need an entire home. I don't need a piece of land. You know, I can put up $100 worth of Bitcoin and they'll give me like $40 or $50. So I can actually participate in how the build wealth, which is they never sell their assets. They just take out loans against them. And with Bitcoin growing at 60% a year, the loan's like a 4% a year. I don't know. Again, I'm just playing with it. It's not.
Interest rates are key at this point. So
Yeah.
picking the institutions that can give you the favorable interest rate, 3, 4, 5% are good. 10% are steep. So I understand wanting to lean. I actually have seen other well-known Bitcoiners using Coinbase for loans, like you're doing, and this is another alternative to doing a HELOC or going and getting a personal loan from your bank, where their interest rate might be substantially higher.
Well, now here's something I am looking into. I've actually just joined and I'm learning about it. I probably listened to it a couple times over the last 3 days. Is something called Fedimint. Fedi. Have you heard about that at all?
I have heard some about Fedi.
Okay. Well, I heard about it from Jeff Booth. I went and looked on his website. They're an investor in it. And then I started watching some YouTube videos on it. I think Breed Love has a one with him, the founder. So it looks like this is going to be something that might disrupt this whole banking industry of how Fedimints work and everything. So right now I know enough to not even be dangerous, but I'm checking that out as well to see what that ecosystem provides and how that works, how Fedimint works. They're just a protocol on top of the Bitcoin base layer, but it provides security for sure and anonymity at a higher level. I'm not sure if it functions the same as what we're talking about, but anyway, that's just something else I'm digging into.
It's always worth exploring all the paths that are out there for you, because we're in the wild, wild west. And still, even though Bitcoin is becoming institutionally welcomed, we're seeing all these great companies put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. It's still learning and building out for your own needs. How do I meet my own needs on a Bitcoin standard? That's different for everybody. And so it's a real, once you've started down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, you've learned about Bitcoin, you have to really spend time digging into these rabbit holes, because you obviously want to follow the law of never sell your Bitcoin. So you're trying to find what's the best way to not do that. And the great thing is there's so many options out there. Like, for example, the loans are just one option. I did send you a couple screenshots of portfolios in the same vein that we've been describing in our previous episodes, that you treat Bitcoin as your savings, and you build on top an investment portfolio on top of that meets your needs, whether you're a young person just trying to grow your value or an old person trying to preserve your value.
Yeah, and one thing I like about, I don't know if y'all have been listening a lot to Jeff Booth lately, but apparently there's so much more that we need to be doing as Bitcoiners, that if we took a poll of everybody listening in our Bitcoin network and said, how much of you hold it in cold storage, we might get it, probably the largest crowd that's outside of hold it on exchange, hold it in ETF crowd, and they still consider themselves Bitcoin holders. But running a node and participating in things like Fedi, and the most important thing they'll say is, if we don't use Bitcoin as a means of exchange, it fails as a store of value. And so this is a statement that I've started to think more and more about and try to understand it, that it'll all get centralized if it's not being used readily as a means of exchange. And so kind of think about it, all the US dollars in circulation that are being used as a means of exchange. helped to decentralize pretty much the whole dollar network, even though it's
Mhm.
constantly being centralized on the printing press side and everything else. So I'm trying to figure out how to use it as many ways as possible.
No, that's great. And that's kind of like so many times I've come to the Bitcoin meetups that we have. It's always about one of my favorite ideas I had with you was like, what Bitcoin has been great for me personally to store my wealth. How do I contribute to that network? How do I make that network stronger so that it continues to do what I need it to do and giving myself a superior store of value?
Yeah.
And if I don't do my part to run a node and run small home miners, I'm not doing my part to the network.
Yeah. Yeah. And shout out to Matt Hill with Start 9. I interviewed him last week. Holy cow, dude. That guy's operating on a whole nother level. And basically we have to harden everything. So it's like we really need an entire ecosystem of node runners, node operators that use their node to verify their transactions. We need to use this as a means of exchange. We really have to create the entire ecosystem outside, I guess, the fiat system. And if we don't, it'll just fail at that part. So
I do have a kind of a different take on whether or not it becomes a medium of exchange. So there was this famous essay by Vijay Boyapati called "The Bullish Case for Bitcoin." It's a short booklet. It's a PDF book that's about 40 pages. And in the bullish case for Bitcoin, he lays out the general order in which a money becomes a unit of account. Like there's a process of adoption. It's not just, oh, I wake up one day and it's the unit of account, the medium of exchange for everybody. That doesn't happen overnight. It's a process and it takes time. So right now we've gone past, there's a curve, like an S curve. At the bottom of the S it's treated kind of like a collectible, right? There's nobody knows about it. Nobody really accepts it. It's a niche thing amongst a niche group of people. But what does it take for it to become a store of value? Everyone has to see how rare it is and how desirable it is to hold. There must be a massive need to own it by many, many people in order for it to grow in value from being that niche thing, kind of like Pokemon cards, right? Or seashells. It needs to go from being a niche thing that only a few people appreciate to a widespread commodity that everybody wants. And they need to understand why they want it. It needs to be very much second nature. So you go from being a collectible to a store of value. And what's the big change between those two? It becomes incredibly desirable, incredibly scarce. And so all it takes for Bitcoin to really be seen as the prime store of value is for it to eclipse gold, for example. The gold market cap, if you have Bitcoin at $800,000, which is necessary for it to eclipse gold's market cap as the prime bearer instrument money of the world, you will take the prominent position of being the best store of value. So I'm just saying that in order for us to get there, we're well on our way. The adoption's there, and even though people don't quite see it yet, we're so close to this massive supply shock. That's going to send the price to the moon. Once the price is at the moon, I say around gold's market cap, north of 700, 800 grand. Psychologically, that's going to hit people like a bag of bricks over the head. They're going to realize, wow, this is the best store of value. What do you do once you have something that you see as a store of value, and you, like, for example, and I see it as a store of value as well? You say, oh, I want to exchange my store of value with something you own, your car, your house, whatever. And you likewise would want my Bitcoin because now you're like, damn, $1 million of Bitcoin. I want some of that because how hard is it going to be for me to get it? So it has to become incredibly valuable for the average person to then desire it enough to then trade their assets for it. So at what Bitcoin price, for example, would you say you gladly sell your Tesla? Like, that's gonna be different for everybody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I think at this point, everything, and one thing I think Jeff Booth is hammering home on, which is finally starting to click, and I do have this, what he calls a cognitive dissonance, where I can't comprehend this system because I'm still inside of it in so many ways, and it's hard to let go. But it's the way he says everything should drop in price. Prices should all be falling. So, but
because
then at the same,
technology reduces the cost of producing items down to the marginal production cost.
well, it's not even technology that prices. The human species is always looking for more efficient ways to do things, more efficient ways to bring his goods and services to market. And then when grandma is out there shopping in the farmer's market, she's always shopping for the best deal. She's shopping for the best price. And so even before technology, like computer technology, as we think of it, we were thinking of ways to partner up with, you know, hey, can I throw my stuff on your wagon? That way we're both not taking a wagon. And so that lowered the cost of bringing your goods and services to market. And then with the advent of like the combustion engine and oil industry and energy explosion and the electricity creation and all that was before computers and stuff. And so we've been constantly selecting for efficiencies since the beginning of time. And so everything should be getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, but only in a fiat world are they consuming all of these efficiency gains by issuing debt into the market. And so it's hard to think that, yeah, I agree, everything should be getting cheaper, but I expect my house to go up every year. I expect my house to become more and more valuable. And so until you step out of that system and say, actually, everything should be getting drastically cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And this discipline is being forced onto the market by Bitcoin because it exposes the scourge or the damages of constantly debasing a constantly debased currency.
It's the only sponge that could soak up
Yep.
the extra dollars that we're creating. It's the only that's one way to think about it. It's the only system without entropy.
Yeah.
So it's the only one that tells you the truth. It's the only true measurement of value left. That's
right.
Reliable. If I told you, Craig, you're gonna drive and you're gonna meet me in Orange Beach, and we're gonna redefine the mile, and the mile changes in every county you're gonna go into.
Mm-hmm.
How would you tell me how many miles it is from here to Orange Beach?
Yep.
It's so much harder. If you change the denominator, which our denominator has changed quite a bit in value. I mean, the dollar's lost 90% of its value since 1971. You've lost all way of measuring. So people start measuring in pseudo money, the scarce assets, the homes, the cars. You know, it's you have to monetize assets that aren't perfect monies just for people to understand that, oh, well, I have a scarce asset. If you have beachfront real estate, for example,
mm-hmm.
That's a scarce asset. And so they're the only assets that have a true monetary premium on them. They have to be scarcer than dollars. Scarce assets go up in value.
Yeah, and this is the only time scarcity has been leveraged into the equation. So we've never had a system based on perfect engineered, cryptographically protected scarcity, and that we can all, verify because it's a distributed ledger. So we can all see if the system's been hacked or cheated or something's going on. And so now all of a sudden we've got this scarce system repricing all the systems that are operating off of infinite supply. So infinite supply versus limited supply. We've never had something like this. I mean, you could say we had gold, but it got centralized because it just could not be shipped because it was just too costly to ship gold over long distances. So if you wanted to do business over long distances, you had to all of a sudden go into some paper system. And this is always getting debased because some bank is going to say, well, I'll lend more than, I'll only keep 50% reserves. And then some other bank says 40% reserves. And then eventually you've got this fractional reserve list, lending that's constantly introducing new capital into the market. And so now that we've got this globally scarce asset class, it's just literally forcing a discipline on a system that previously has never had discipline.
And the opportunity, what is the true opportunity for the average person getting into Bitcoin? It's that the opportunity is you get a chance to buy a portion of that network before 99% of the population has figured out that they needed a perfect money. Everyone knows implicitly that you're trading your time, hopefully, for something that's valuable. And people are just now waking up gradually, a little bit more. It seems like every week that their money has failed them, and they need a better, more perfect money.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, look, today now, couple has to work. They each have to work. The wife and the husband have to both work full-time jobs to afford a living, and then they get homes that are cheaply made, not beautiful. They're just facades. I mean, if you compare modern day homes to homes that were built 100 years ago, it's just a shame that how cheap these homes are being made and the materials that are being used. And yet we've gotten so good at bringing quality things to market with our supply chain, and yet still things are getting more and more, I guess, just cheapened by this fiat system. So
it's no wonder people become incredibly discouraged and cynical, because they don't see that their lives are actually improving. Whenever you really scratch beneath the surface, you see your life is, and the quality of your life, the standard of your life in every meaningful way has been degraded. And Bitcoin is the escape to that, is the escape hatch to that matrix.
Yeah. I heard something else that said 0% inflation is still theft. 0% inflation is still theft, because actually things should be getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Everything we touch, canned goods, eggs, oil, everything should all be getting cheaper, just because of every single day buyers are shopping for the best deal. Every single day Walmart is shopping for better and better deals, forcing improvements in either improvement in quality or drop your price.
And just imagine what AI is going to do. I mean, you just, every single job that was that can be done by AI will lower the cost of those services down over time. I know AI is not perfect, it's not quite there yet, but it's going to get there eventually, where these models are going to be able to provide, unfortunately, and in some cases fortunately, services that humans provide.
Yeah, today,
more effectively, faster.
Today here, 4/24, April 24th, is the slowest AI will ever be. It's the dumbest it'll ever be. Tomorrow, it's going to be faster. Every single day, it's going to get more faster. It's consuming man hours at an alarming rate. If you look at the 8 billion man hours or whatever, how many people are in the workforce, how many of these man hours are being consumed by AI, here and there, hour here, hour there, in every company, providing, look at it this way. How long ago, say this little Bitcoin logo right here, the Daily Bitcoin Podcast logo was made on X for me to just saying, make me a circle logo that says Bitcoin Daily Podcast, and then make it in lights and make it old fashioned and with a gold background. And then within like 20 minutes, I'm like, yep, good enough. Next, going to the next project.
You're not going to a marketing person to make that.
That artist that I would have paid. Matter of fact, my Palco logo, shout out to Matthew Wallace. Matthew Wallace made my Palco Services logo, paid him $5,000 for the logo, the colors, everything that, and it was a beautiful job. And back then you had to pay a company that had, the graphics design ability. And, they had all the little Adobe suites, and they would just make you a logo. And then they design like a business card, and then they design this. And now it's like, AI does all that stuff.
And so what do you think AI is going to want to be paid in?
I don't know. I mean,
I've heard a lot of Bitcoiners on YouTube arguing the point that AIs are only going to insist on, if they're going to be paid anything for doing your services, micropayments in Bitcoin, something like that.
I think AI is going to a lower level, it's going to go to a more base level. It'll probably say just, I'm good with just electricity. Just feed
Maybe
me
so.
electricity. Because AI is just going to be so widely distributed and so cheap. We're going to have super intelligent AIs in our watch.
And that's the crazy part about the idea of investing in AI companies right now. Just not financial advice, but
Yeah.
from my point of view, it's like, why would I want to invest in something that it's becoming cheaper and faster every single day, but you can't quite monetize it? Even the companies that have found a way to monetize it, like Grok's one of the best out there, and they're only getting about $20 a month from me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and eventually that just becomes a, you know, kind of like, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on this, but look how cameras are just almost expected. Like look how the music industry went from they expected you to go shopping for their CD or for their record album or for their tape to now every kid expects all the music just included in their phone. Just go into YouTube, you can hear just about any song you want, or
Always
$10.
available.
Yeah, $10 a month, unlimited streaming every song that's ever been written. Like, what if I don't understand why AI is not going to follow that same, you know, cost pattern? That it's literally just, you know, $20 a month on your X subscription, and you just get this super intelligent robot.
I totally
AI.
agree with Jeff Booth's thesis. He seems
Which is,
spot on.
what's his thesis?
Everything gets priced. The price of everything is constantly going down in terms of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, everything falls to the marginal cost of production. And the cost to produce stuff is just getting to where it's a line of code producing a line of code. It's AI writing itself. So when prices fall to zero and near zero, you know, I think at that point you're just the only thing binding you is the electric bill that it takes to feed the machine. And even energy costs are going to get, you know, affected by robots doing a lot of the mining. I mean, you can go to these big like one of the things I do, you know, I'm a guy, we watch heavy equipment, biggest dump truck on earth. I still do that kind of stuff, even though I'm not a boy anymore. And you see these big mines, these huge gold mines, all these massive dump trucks are robotic driven. There's no
Really?
men inside of them. Yeah.
Wow.
These monsters going down these big mines, and you might have a guy operating like the big steam shovel, and that's it. Everything else is just automated. If you look at China and you look at some of their shipping not shipyards, some of their ports, some of their deep sea ports, there's no more longshoremen. Like it's even the little 18-wheelers and the things that are moving containers around and stacking them, that's all autonomously done. So
I've
what
seen
used
that.
to
It's
take
wild.
like thousands of longshoremen in trucks driving and loading and all this kind of stuff, all completely automated. And they just have like this computer room with a few Chinamen in there, just kind of operating the whole thing. And so they're super efficient, running 24/7, not making any mistakes, not going on strike, not getting sick, just literally, you know, doing their job. So what does that do to the cost of, you know, getting something to your doorstep? I think all that's just drastically dropping. So, anyway, so this fun Bitcoin, well, let's see what the next slide we have. I haven't even checked it out yet. What is this by Max Kaiser?
Game theory is playing out.
Let's see.
You want to pull it up?
Yep. Can you see it now? Oh, wait. Nope. Here we go.
There we go. Saylor started the ball rolling in 2020 with the Bitcoin Treasury Company strategy. So here's your opportunity for all the companies out there to go copy strategy. It is the strategy. If you've seen in the news lately, Jack Mallers is teaming up with Howard Lutnick's company, Cantor Fitzgerald, and Tether to go launch a strategy competitor. That was the big news this week.
You know, if anybody was wondering what Trump's strategy is, maybe you can just look to the guy that's sitting over his right shoulder. That
He
just
spoke in
made this.
Nashville 2024.
Who is
Bitcoin
it?
Nashville. Howard Lutnick spoke. It was an incredible
Did he?
speech. Yeah.
The one me and you went to in Nashville?
Yep. He was
How
there.
did I didn't even know who he was, honestly.
You just got to save that name, put Nashville 2024 on YouTube. You'll find him. He
Oh
gave
my
a
gosh.
very heartfelt speech about his company after 9/11. You know, a
Mm-hmm.
huge portion of the company died in the towers, and
Right.
they launched a fund to make sure that everyone in that family was well taken care of, and they've done well by all the victims. And since then, he's gone on to become quite an incredible business owner and
Yeah.
institutional investment company.
Yeah, but I know there was a lot of chatter that, you know, Trump's just trying to get some votes, this and that. But I think it's the more and more I hear what's coming out of this administration. Gosh, I feel like I'm on some news channel when I say that. But the more stuff I hear out of this administration with David Sachs, with how they positioned the strategic reserve to only include Bitcoin,
And the
that they weren't,
sovereign wealth fund as
yeah,
well.
and they weren't selling any. You know, it was like
Yeah.
buy and hold. And now all of a sudden you hear Jack Mallers, who's, you know, I'm a big fan of. I've been pushing strikes since I heard about it in Miami. And then he's partnering with Howard Lutnick's what is it, 21? What's the name of it?
It's going to be 21.
Yeah.
That's the new company name.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we just got a lot of people coming in for this phase of adoption. I don't think there was any way to keep these people out. And what do we do? I mean, let's just say we're, you know, the basement dweller Bitcoins that unite. We don't want anybody but us to get in. Like, okay, but how do you keep the network from verifying the purchase? Their cash is just as good here as some guy in, you know, Nigeria.
You gotta think about this. Alliance here is in the best interest of the community. This is going to push adoption so hard. So it just tightens the ratchet of the urgency to adopt Bitcoin by the US government, by governments around the world, and other larger institutions. So this is pushing the global adoption of Bitcoin exponentially faster than anyone's aware of.
Now, what about people being afraid that it's going to cause the centralization of Bitcoin, you know, as the bigger checkbooks show up? Well, I'll say in the process, they're going to make the early adopters over these last 16 years super wealthy, at least in non-Bitcoin terms. Yeah, in dollar terms. But if they're smart, they're not selling. So they're just going to hang on to it. And I think this is where using Bitcoin as a means of exchange becomes more and more important as it starts to centralize, as the store of value starts to centralize into the big economies. I think it's more and more important to use it as a means of exchange.
And like we were talking about earlier, once it's valuable enough, you will have the people out there that have been saving in Bitcoin, that, or even the people that have weak hands and are willing to sell it at a certain price, call it 100 grand, 200 grand, 500 grand per coin. They're going to be itching for a way to use it. And I believe that once it is valuable enough, the layer twos that are currently struggling to gain widespread adoption and efficiency, like, for example, the Lightning Network, those are going to take off because there's going to be such a drastic need. So many people are going to be yelling at River or Strike or Coinbase, make Lightning Network fast, efficient, and they're going to throw tons of money to developers to make it all happen.
Well, I think that's what Fedimint is. Fedimint, look it up. Jump on the bandwagon. I'm learning about it myself, so I don't know anything about it, but you know, I trust anything Jeff Booth is, but verify. Because like anything else, you know, you got to use it or lose it. Like a language. If you don't speak the language, you end up, you know, not being able to communicate in the language that you might have been proficient in. And so like an instrument, like a muscle, you got to use it. And so Bitcoin's the same thing. You got to use it or you'll be left behind.
Yeah, I'll be happy to check out Fedimint. And I'm also really curious to try, there's an application called Aqua out there, Aqua Wallet. That'll be interesting to try.
What is that? I've heard about it.
Samson Mao, that's his layer 2 solution. If you look him up.
Well, like him. Yeah. What's it do?
They use a Aqua, and they have it's like a Tether like stable coin that they have. And so I haven't looked too much into it myself, but I have it downloaded. I just haven't learned how to use it yet. More to come on that.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll have some Fedi updates. Let's go to this next slide here. What do we have?
I'm just pointing out right here that Michael Saylor has the first mover advantage. Whenever it comes to seeing the 21 company by Jack Mallers come up, Michael Saylor, like we talked about in one of our previous podcasts, he truly does have a monumental moat. He has so much protection around his monopoly position. What's the replacement cost, for example, of Jack Mallers trying to buy up 500,000 Bitcoin to go and truly surpass Michael Saylor? Like, he's not going to be able to do it anywhere close to the cost basis that Saylor did.
No, but I think the thing here is that it's purpose built. I don't know what that means as far as, I think Jack Mallers claimed that Michael Saylor made a pivot from a technology company that makes commercial software or something like that and into this versus Bitcoin from day one, Bitcoin acquisition strategy from day one. And he's bringing in a lot of, through Howard Lutnick and a lot of the banking system. Maybe they could come in heavy like the ETFs did, where they're slinging BlackRock-sized checkbooks.
Yeah, we'll see. It's I'm not saying that they're in a world where both Michael Saylor and Jack Mallers can win. This is a win-win thing.
Yeah. It's going to be hard to unseat it because literally the more you buy Bitcoin, the stronger you make
Michael Saylor.
MicroStrategy. And so you're never going to be able to go get it at the prices he did. But like he said, he's buying all the time, all the dips, all the highs, all the in-betweens. He's just constantly buying. And so essentially they're just going to do the same thing.
I do understand the idea that, 21, Jack Mallers' new company, is a pure play. Like, there was a comparison tweet out there showing how they're a pure play and they don't have a side business saddling them. But you also have to understand, Michael Saylor, if he didn't pivot from the dying company, he wouldn't have had a company on which to do this with. Does that make sense? Like, you had to have a place to start from.
Yeah, pivots can completely change. The success stories in entrepreneurship throughout history are the story of pivoting. It's being able to, pull away from where you started or what the family business was. After 3 generations, like General Mills sold the mills, and now they make all the little plastic dispensing units you see everywhere. And so the best companies in the world, if you haven't read Good to Great, by Jim Collins, he talks about their ability to just stop doing the old and figuring out the new out of survival. And I think as entrepreneurs, we're constantly in measurement mode, trying to see, and you discover opportunities. So remember, it was through the pain of COVID. It was through that pain that Michael Saylor was forced to take a hard look at his company. And so companies all the time are forced into positions to reinvent themselves out of survival. What they say is necessity is the mother of invention. And so when you're choosing between death and the hard way, you choose the hard way or the unknown way or the whatever. The building's on fire. Exiting is our only option. So
when you're dangling over the precipice, you have to really you have to take the courageous decision that you wouldn't have otherwise taken when you're comfortable sitting on your couch eating potato chips.
Mm-hmm. So discomfort is good. And I think this goes back to everything's getting better. Everything's getting more efficient. Even Bitcoin acquisition itself is evolving to be open and more available to all sorts of buyers. That the original buyer had to be kind of a tech savvy, already in the basement to see this thing coming, to even understand what it was. These are early Bitcoin adopters and holders. And even now, we're still very much in the early adoption phase where, like, 0.2% of the global economy.
All you
And
need to
so-
do is go and ask a group of 100 people, how many
Yes.
how many of you heard of Bitcoin? How many of you own Bitcoin?
Look, I haven't met a bartender or a waitress or a stranger, and I ask them what Bitcoin is, and they're like, yeah, I heard of it, and that's about the best you're going to get. It's so rare that I'll walk into someone you meet in the grocery store and you start a Bitcoin conversation. Ask me how I know this. I start Bitcoin conversation with everyone. Actually, I remember I was kind of semi-retired for a year, and I went to the sauna and the cold plunge nearly every single day for almost a year straight. And when you're sitting in the cold plunge, you're sitting there freezing your tail off next to this guy next to you. And this cold plunge was kind of huge, so we could fit like 10, 15 people in there. And they would always, ask them what they did. They asked them what I do. And I said, well, I'm kind of semi-retired. I put everything in the Bitcoin. Now I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. And I did not ever, not once in the entire year, probably, I don't know, a couple hundred people, not one of them said, oh yeah, I'm into Bitcoin. So there's a small data piece of information. I'm sure everyone else is having similar experiences. And so imagine how much more rare if you're a bank that accepts Bitcoin or a business that accepts Bitcoin, and you start asking your fellow CEOs, so are you into Bitcoin? That's even more rare.
It's going to be a huge opportunity for the banks that are savvy enough to at least consider it at this point. Because so many people have these traditional finance jobs where they'll get laughed at if they suggest anything out of the ordinary, out of the set menu of options. But
and I'm just reading this.
The incredible opportunity is that you'd be able to serve a group of a segment of the population that isn't served right now. Whoever moves, whatever bank, that's even a regional bank that did this, even on a small scale, would gain notoriety for being ahead of the curve.
And I'm just reading this. The date was yesterday. Strategy. That they crossed the $100 billion mark. I was kind of watching them because I was watching their ascent up the most wealthiest or the highest market caps globally. And I was like, man, it seems like they're going to get to 100 billion pretty fast. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out, weren't they like worth $1 billion when he started this?
Yes.
So they went from $1 billion, they did 100x in 5 years. Or something close to that. So I'm trying to look at strategy.
If you go to Strategy's website, you can get really great charts.
That's what I'm looking for right now, strategy.com.
Cool thing is they actually have an app now. You can go check everything out, and they're so transparent about everything they do.
I wonder why they chose the black and orange colors.
No idea. I'm just wearing orange glasses for no reason.
That's right. Here we go. Bitcoin price. No, I'm trying to get, not the Bitcoin price. I'm trying to get the charts. Here we go. Charts. 2,734%. Over what time period, though? God, this is crazy. He has smoked NVIDIA.
Since they started their Bitcoin standard.
He has smoked. The only thing that has outperformed Tesla.
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
NVIDIA.
I sold all of my Tesla stock when I got into this. And y'all know I'm a big Elon Musk fanboy. But they did 174% over the same time period, which I'm trying to find. And at the same time, Bitcoin itself, just the asset of Bitcoin, BTC, 686%. NVIDIA did outperform Bitcoin at 853%, but MicroStrategies was 2,734% in that same.
Do you want to screenshot that and post it here?
So
everybody can see it.
All right,
add it to the chat.
You know what? I am going to just come over here. Actually, I'm going to pull up the next slide. You can talk about that while you chat about this thing here.
Oh, this is just another one about 21. Their main goal was to leverage capital markets to maximize Bitcoin ownership per share and pioneer Bitcoin native financial tools. So pretty much just copying Strategy's playbook here.
By the way, if you type in the word strategy, it is the #1 search that comes up. Not the definition strategy, but let me just confirm that.
Dollars well spent.
Okay, I typed in strategy. It says dictionary strategy, a plan of action or policy designed to achieve a major. The first thing to pop up is strategy, MSTR, big orange Bitcoin. Actually, the first 1, 2, 3 things to pop up. Yes, definitely money well spent. Let's see. Oh, he's now at 104. So when we started this conversation, it was 103 billion. And now it's worth 104 billion.
Those overnight markets shooting up.
All right, let's see. I'm going to see if I can.
Tomorrow's going to be a fun day.
Present. Hold on. All right, I know what I'm doing. I'm just going to screenshot it. How do you do screenshot?
Command Control Shift 4.
Something like this. Here we go. All right, got it. Did that pop up? Nope.
If you copy it and put in the message. There we go.
There we go. This is what we're talking about here. It's a hard case to beat right there. So
think like if you had Bitcoin, you've beaten all the Mag 7 stocks, all the major tech companies, short of Nvidia, who's really struggling now, and you have MSTR, which is head and shoulders above Bitcoin.
Yeah, and as Bitcoin does better, it does better. So Bitcoin will never catch, I don't think. I could be wrong. But how does Bitcoin catch strategy? Because it's just an amplifier of the Bitcoin price.
Strategy is the black hole pulling everyone to Bitcoin.
Yep. Interesting stuff. Okay, let's see. Let's go back to some of these other slides here. '21. Here we go. To be clear, Jack Mallers. To be clear, let's just read this. I'm the CEO of Strike. I will lead both companies. At Strike, we will continue building Bitcoin financial services for the world, making Bitcoin more accessible for all. Today, we are sharing some of our financials for the first time. 6 billion in volume, year-on-year 600% growth. Nice year. Congratulations. Gross profit margin, 85%. Wow. Customer acquisition cost. Man, they are paying a lot for every customer. $0. Largest customer cohort. What does that mean? Largest customer base that's between 50,000 and 500,000 per month. Profitability statement. We expect to generate 8 to 9 figures in net profit in 2025 with just 75 full-time employees. Wow. Getting more and more efficient. You know, I think somebody said that our first trillionaire, our first company to generate $1 trillion in revenue by one person is already here. That someone among us with AI and AI agents will make $1 trillion company. It's hard to say that without saying that system's broken. Strike is lean, profitable, and growing. Strike operates on a Bitcoin standard. We hold almost all of our balance sheet in Bitcoin and sweep all of our cash flow into our Bitcoin treasury. We're just getting started at Strike. So there's Strike.
It's quite a statement there.
Yeah. So basically saying, I haven't abandoned strike. That's still doing its thing. All right, let's go to the next one.
And
The
this
Moat.
is just the MicroStrategy mode that we talked about previously.
Yep. Brand recognition, that's going to be huge, especially since it's already on the, well, it's not on the Fortune 500 yet.
The
But
S&P
when it
500. They're on their way. They're hoping to get included in the S&P 500 this year, which would add in tons of passive flows into S&P 500 ETFs.
Yeah. So that means everybody that buys the S&P 500, which is a standard part of almost any big portfolio, that, you know, some big pension fund or, you know, retirement accounts for teachers unions, they all buy the Fortune 500. Once it gets included in that, then everybody's going to be buying Bitcoin, whether they like it or not. It's going to be in your 401k. Monopoly. Now that might be getting broken up a little. I don't know. Like we were saying before.
They still hold the lion's share right here. 538,000 Bitcoin. So
does BlackRock own more?
Oh, I'm talking about a corporate ownership. So BlackRock, you'll have to look how much BlackRock owns.
Yeah, let's see. How much Bitcoin does BlackRock own? I feel so like cavemanish when I have to type because I'm so used to just asking questions to my AI.
You're getting grok spoiled here.
Mm-hmm. It's like when you press search on your phone and you're just like, why is it taking so long? And it's been like 2 seconds versus 1 second. All right, here we go. How much Bitcoin does BlackRock own? The BlackRock iShares Bitcoin Trust, IBIT, currently holds 573,000 Bitcoin, more than MicroStrategy. That must eat Saylor up. He's tossing and turning.
Yeah, he's working on that one fast.
He's trying to catch him. I think he will.
People are talking like Saylor is going to be the first to have 1 million Bitcoin, the whole Nakamoto, they call it.
He's the whole Nakamoto. I own one Nakamoto. That's an elite club. A club of one right now. All right. Visionary. Well, yeah, that's so definitely has that. I mean, and you know he only started in like 2020. But you know, he came in with at his level as, you know,
he was well known already, though. He was known as a forward thinker. He found Apple and Amazon before a lot of people did. Like, for example, you can go look up videos of him on YouTube describing Apple and understanding that they were going to come to dominate the smartphone market.
Yeah, it's
so. And he had a book. What was Saylor's book called?
The Mobile Revolution,
Mobile
Wave, something like that.
Yeah, Mobile Wave. So he's been ahead of the game on understanding technology and the history of technology for a long time.
And then optionality, that's one thing you've been discussing over the last few episodes where he's, I think that's what you're talking about, right?
He's offering so many products to so many people where everybody can get their one flavor that appeals to them or their needs at a given moment in time.
Now, why is volatility on there? I think that might need a little bit of explaining to a lot of people.
Well, a nice way to put it is for the people that just want to think about just Bitcoin in general, volatility is vitality. If something's moving, people are paying attention to it. If something isn't active, if there is an active market and, for example, trading Bitcoin, there is nothing to really give any people any interest. But since Bitcoin is so active, it drives interest into MicroStrategy. And this volatility up, down, well, people are constantly fixated on the volatility of Bitcoin. And where is it going to go? It's go up, down. It's a very emotional thing. And you can see how MicroStrategy also, as it thought of as this edgy tech stock, people trade on emotion. They'll hold positions in it and be like, oh man, it's going up today, it's going down today. They'll emotionally sell rather than understanding what they're truly holding. So what I see whenever I say somebody is, you're talking about a volatile asset, imagine every time that you sell, you're just transferring it from weaker hands to stronger hands who know. You're selling from the people that don't understand it as well to the people that understand it better.
Yeah.
So the knowledge gap, up, down, and then over time, more and more people are going to realize that they sold one of the best companies in the world to someone else who just appreciated it and understood it better than them.
Yeah, and you ever heard that expression, all news is good news? Even if it's bad news, at least they're talking about you. Keep them talking about you. I think Trump leverages this really well, that he keeps a lot of activity around volatile, right? And
Energy.
so everybody's paying attention to him.
The energy in the room.
Musk is another great one that's constantly in the news, getting free advertisement, having people look at him, look at his stock, look at his company, look at his cars, listen to his technology, listen to his value proposition. And if there's a better company than Tesla out there, nobody's going to know about it, because he's gathering so much of the attention. And I mean, even like with these latest Tesla fires and people keying it and stuff, I never saw the middle America pickup truck person at Trump supporter as a big potential client for Tesla. But after this last run, I'm starting to see like now they're going to buy Tesla just because, it's kind of part of their patriotic duty, or in support of Trump, or in support of everything Musk has done and uncovered with Doge and stuff.
Yeah, I saw that was incredible.
And I just don't think he would have really won these people over in any other way, because I have a lot of family here in South Louisiana, and they were just diehard pickup truck people. Ford, Chevy, Dodge, that diesels, that kind of stuff. And it's not that they're going to go run out and buy a Cybertruck, but I mean, you're just starting to see a lot of people that before just wouldn't give Musk the time of day. Electric cars will never hit. I like my gas vehicles. And now they're starting to give him a much better look. This was just as an example of somebody coming in and creating a bunch of, volatility, or having volatility as a wind to just have people look at them and follow it. And like you said, it's a roller coaster. Trump's a roller coaster. Tesla's a roller coaster, and MicroStrategies is also on this Bitcoin roller coaster. So it's almost like free advertisement.
Exactly. So like the more people are fixated on MicroStrategy, the more people that are going to be gravitating towards it, because they're going to understand these 5 things that we're talking about implicitly. And they see this halo effect of the visionary and the monopoly, and they've heard of MicroStrategy. They understand there's an option for them, and it's constantly out there for you to become aware of it.
And we need to get like some ad revenue for all this free advertisement we're giving them.
And they just send us some strategy swag, some hoodies, some hats, some
strategy
pens,
hats. Strategy sign in the back.
I'm about it. I want a neon strategy sign. That'd be nice.
That's it. That's all we have. This is our list of demands. We want a hoodie.
Tweet to send.
We're not going to say another word about strategy till next week. We don't get hoodies in the mail.
So this is an idea that I actually found. Someone posted it on Twitter. I'd been talking about this already on our podcast, and I thought it was incredible. Somebody made this pyramid and posted it, and it just read my mind. I was like, wow, I've been thinking about exactly that. So between this pyramid, this is just showing you relative allocation in a portfolio.
It looked like a pyramid scheme. I knew it was a pyramid scheme.
No, I really would like to talk about this more in depth on our next this pyramid and the next one that I have that I just relabeled. I'd like to talk about these in depth on our next podcast. That'd be great.
All right. Well, so this is just a sneak peek. We're not going to let you look at it too long. You get to look at that one for a little while, and then that. But that's it. That's all you get. Now we're going on back to this one. All right. So we'll just remove
all the signal.
That's it. We can't let you. You know what they say, Morgan. Always leave them wanting more.
That's the goal.
So it's those pyramids. We're not going to explain them. We're just going to leave y'all in the dark. Y'all are probably going to miss out unless you do your own research.
Go research those pyramids, and maybe you don't have to wait till next week to find out pearls of wisdom we're going to drop on you in 7 days. We're going to do this again next Thursday. What are we doing?
Either next Thursday or the Thursday after that. I'll make sure to stay in touch.
Well, now we've got, not this coming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, we're doing our little Bitcoin meetup from the Bulldog.
I'll definitely be there.
So, all right, let me make sure I set up my outro real quick before we wrap things up. Any closing remarks before we sign off from the Bitcoin Daily?
Buy Bitcoin, don't sell. Talk to us about self-custody and come to Bitcoin Proof of Drink.
Yep. And hopefully we'll see you in Las Vegas. You're going, right?
Absolutely. I'll be there.
Okay. All right. Well, I will see you at least in a couple of Tuesdays at the Bitcoin Bulldog meetup in Baton Rouge every first Tuesday of the month, or you can go and join us in New Orleans every first Thursday of the month. You can meet me and Morgan and the whole Bitcoin Louisiana cruise there. But thank you all for attending today. Thank you, Morgan, for joining us as a regular co-host with me. And
of course. It's been great.
What do they say? Stay humble, buy sats, stack sats.
Stay humble, stack stats. Thank you, Craig. Have a good night.
You too.
Welcome to the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, where knowledge meets financial freedom. We're here to break down the world of Bitcoin. No fluff, no hype, just real talk about how this digital asset is reshaping the future of money. Inflation is stealing your purchasing power, but what if there was a way to fight back? Enter Bitcoin, the digital currency that empowers you to take control of your wealth. Ever wondered why your money doesn't stretch as far as it used to? At the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, we educate, inform, and inspire. From expert interviews to breaking news, we bring you everything you need to stay ahead in the Bitcoin community. Market updates, expert insights, real-world use cases, and practical tips to navigate the Bitcoin economy. So whether you're a seasoned Bitcoin investor or just getting started, this is your daily dose of Bitcoin wisdom. Don't miss out. Subscribe now, hit that bell icon, and let's break free from the chains of inflation, one Bitcoin at a time. The Daily Bitcoin Podcast, your gateway to financial freedom.